guys, welcome back to Moyung, the cooking channel that's not so useless. In this video, we'll be cooking up some braised pork belly. This is a simple braised dish to make. That's another banger to serve with rice. The pork is fatty and tender and still holds its shape. The skin is desirably gelatinous, and the braising sauce has quite the punch after each bite. Now, this dish will employ techniques similar to our braised pork belly with potatoes recipe, but the flavors in this dish are much more intense. And to make this dish, you'll need pork belly, light soy sauce, cooking wine, rose wine, dark soy sauce, rock sugar, boiling water, ginger, and spring onion. Oh, and you also need star anise. For the quantities, you'll need to parboil 1 kg of pork belly with 4 slices of ginger, 1 tablespoon of cooking wine, and 1 to 2 spring onions. And for the braising sauce, you'll need 6 slices of ginger, 40 grams of rock sugar, 45 milliliters of rose wine, 60 grams of light soy sauce, 3 grams of dark soy sauce, 2 star anise, and around 800 milliliters of boiling water. So this is quite simple to make, and you only need to do 2 key things: parboil the pork belly, and then braise it. But before we begin, if you do enjoy this video, do consider subscribing, as it does help the channel out. So starting off, we want to give the pork belly a good clean. So with your knife, scrape off any yuckies from the skin. And luckily for us, our pork belly skin was very clean. Then give the pork belly a quick rinse. Next, we want to portion the pork belly into equal sized strips to ensure that they all cook evenly. Then with your ginger, peel off the skin and then cut some slices. And be sure to slice a bit more for when we need to braise. With the spring onion, portion, and if you have any end stems, crush it to release more flavor. And then once you've measured out the cooking wine, you can proceed to parboil. Put the pork belly into a pot and submerge them completely with cold water. Then add in your spring onions, ginger slices, and cooking wine, and turn the heat to a medium-low. We want to make sure we parboil at a medium-low heat to ensure that the pork cooks more evenly and doesn't end up shriveling up from the high heat. Around 15 to 20 minutes later, a layer of impurities will float to the surface, so be sure to skim the scum off. And when the water has noticeable bubbles, let the pork continue parboiling for about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how thick your pork is, or until there's no longer any visible blood on the surface of the pork. Once you're done parboiling, you should have a very light pink piece of pork with no dark hues of red. Next, take your pork out of the pot and rinse off any impurities. Finally, be sure to dry the pork belly really well before you move on to braising. If you don't, the excess moisture will cause hot oil to splatter all over the place, and you can potentially get some minor burns if you're not careful. And once you've dried it really well, it's onto the braising. Start off by boiling the water and measure out the braising ingredients. At your stove, turn the heat on high, and when hot, add in your oil. About 2 tablespoons will do, as well as the ginger slices, and then immediately turn the heat down low. We really want the ginger to infuse itself into the oil, so just let the ginger cook until golden. Once golden, take the ginger out and add in the rock sugar. We crush the rock sugar into finer granule sizes beforehand, just to speed up the cooking process. And constantly stir the rock sugar around in the oil until it completely melts. And once it melts, this is the consistency you're looking for. Now for the dangerous part. Add in your pork belly. As you can see, the oil will explode everywhere if it gets into contact with moisture. And this holds ever so true when in contact with the pork skin. So make sure only the meat portion of the pork comes into contact with the pan. Do not let the skin touch the oil. We're aiming to give the pork belly some color on each side. So be sure to rotate the pork belly around every few seconds until a good quantity of the rock sugar sticks to the pork. Once the sides are nicely coated, turn the heat up high and add in the rose wine, making sure to add it down the sides of the pan. Light soy sauce, again down the sides of the pan. Star anise, our golden ginger slices, and dark soy sauce. Then turn the pork over a few times just to let them deepen their color. And when you're happy with the color, and the braising liquid is getting really frothy, add the boiling water down the sides of the pan, just to make sure you don't wash the color off the pork. And if any of your utensils still have rock sugar on them, leave them in the braising liquid to dissolve. Then when the liquid boils, put the lid on, turn the heat down low, and let it braise in increments of 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, flip the pork over and continue braising for another 20 minutes. Then after these 20 minutes, flip them once more and use a chopstick to test how tender the pork is. If the chopstick easily goes through the pork, then it's done. Otherwise, continue braising in increments of 10 minutes before testing it again. Now that the pork is tender, we just want to reduce the braising liquid into a beautiful sauce. So turn the heat on high and let it reduce. As it's reducing, periodically flip the pork over to further deepen its color. For us, this is the consistency we suggest you strive for. Any further and the sauce may be too salty. Then take the ginger and star anise out and just give the pork belly one last roll for that final sheen. Then just chop it up plate, drizzle on some sauce, and garnish with whatever you want. And with that, your braised pork belly is done. So guys, that was my family's recipe for braised pork belly. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you ever get the chance to make this at home, be sure to tell us how it goes. And if you want to see any of our future videos, be sure to subscribe. See ya.